Secret friends, unite!
Welcome to the Secret Friends Unite podcast, number 454. This is your guide to the geek side in a palindrome. I'm one of your hosts, Todd Oxtra, joined by Charlie Carden.
I am stealing the valor of a fictional character. Send all your hate mail to Todd's address. Here it is.
Off to the brig.
Off to the brig. No, this is me. And again, I think April turned the heat on, so it's getting it gets really warm down here in my basement studio. So I might be losing this jacket, but this is my homage to General Hawk of the GI Joe team, and it had a rip tape that I have that is covered up in black to protect his identity. So we love the troops. The fake ones.
Exactly. Thank you for your service, fake G.I. Joe commander.
Fake G.I. Joe. And my very cool West Coast Avengers custom tee, which I used to have a custom t-shirt person that we aren't really that close with anymore. So kind of bums me out because when this shirt wears out, nobody gives any love to the West Coast Avengers. Are those little like X Pops?
Yep.
Those
little chibi guys. Yep. Little chibi.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for.
Yep. So
chibi weeby.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, we are here and happy to bring you this wonderful hour of entertainment, or more than an hour of entertainment. But the other great work that we do over at patreon.com/secretfriendsunite would not be possible without some of our top tier Patreons. We love these folks. Gives us the chance and the fundage and the overall wherewithal to carry on to make some of the great fun stuff that we do. That would be on our Friends with Benefits level, Corey in HD, John Sedorf, the awesome Phoenix Sisters cosplay, Brendan Myers, and a brand new person, a co-host of Mark's over in Holocron, who filled in for me one week when I was missing it. I feel bad whenever I miss that show, but it's Mondays late. Sometimes my work schedule, I'm not away from home. So Mark always does such a great job of finding people to jump in and host with. He had Master Allen, who is a guy who loves lightsaber stuff, on this past week, and they talked for 2 hours, which I'm like, wow, that's too late at night for me. But you know what? It's cool. And if they enjoy it, I love it. But anyway, I'm talking about Asian Sith Mistress. We talked about her last time, gave her superpower, and we appreciate you. BFF levels, we, as always, have our OG supporters, the awesome Nias family, Sean, Stella, and Henry, and dear friend Missy Merchant. So thank you for what you guys do. Remember, you can go to patreon.com/secretfriendsunite for a free 7-day trial of our offerings. And if you like it, we certainly hope that you stick around. And there's a lot of sticking around going on in this cover that you found this week. Oh my goodness, Marvel 3000. What do we got going on here?
Yeah, Marvel 3000 was a weird imprint. I didn't even know it existed at the time, but it did. So essentially, we've got the original Guardians of the Galaxy. It says, explore the Marvel Universe in the 31st century with the Guardians of the Galaxy. It says, this amazing Spider-Man on Mars. And we've got the Guardians of the Galaxy, which you will not recognize compared with the MCU Guardians of the Galaxy.
But this is a weird group. I can't even necessarily pick out, because there's Yondu. He's kneeling. Yep. Is it Vance Astrovic or Vance
Astro? Charlie 27. He's the squat guy, because I believe he lived on a planet with gravity that was very strong, so he became like short and sweet. Alita.
You got some different ones here.
Yeah, so. Nikki. That's just a Nikki.
Ooh, Nikki. Oh, or like Nikki Computer Blue. Isn't that Prince?
Yeah, Talon. And Yellow Jacket, so I'm not exactly sure what Yellow Jacket that would be. And also Starhawk was involved in this as well.
Well, there was certainly a Yellow Jacket. That was one of Hank Pym's identities, but then it got handed off to a young female who was villain. But that obviously doesn't apply to this, especially if it's in the 31st century, which of course the Guardians of the Galaxy in the MCU parlance clearly takes place now. So, but yes, they're standing around a very back to tank like tube with a tore up Spider-Man outfit, which the mask is floating somehow, like it's being held in suspended animation. Oh, I get it. Yellow Jacket
is not connected, right? So
yeah, I didn't see that there was a little person down there.
I saw that too now. Yeah.
Yes, I didn't. But yeah, so it's a spider suit. It's tore up, and yeah, if they're on Mars, Spider-Man of Mars, wasn't Spiders of Mars? Wasn't that a Bowie album?
I
Is that really David Bowie?
it is, yes.
Is that where he is now? He is
Stardust.
immortal soul?
Yeah, as Spider-Man. Yeah, this is and everyone talked about, oh, the Guardians of the Galaxy are a big thing, but as we think about the Guardians of the Galaxy, like in things, they are like D tier list. I mean, they're well below Iron Man, and
F,
people thought it was a big deal
Q
that
tier,
Iron Man got
right,
the movie. The fact that
right.
these guys, it wasn't even these guys. It was like the version from like 2008.
The aughts, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, which again, that's the only Marvel film that's really done gangbusters
yeah,
since Endgame. I mean, Shang-Chi did okay,
yeah,
but Guardians 3 was the only one that really blew the doors off.
yeah.
And then of course now we have the Marvels being your lowest performer of Marvel in quite some good time. And it hasn't there been some talk like, oh God, it was the worst film, worst performing film of all time. I still maintain it's The Flash, but then again, Indiana Jones was right there, so I don't know.
Well, it's definitely the lowest performing MCU film because now it's
Yeah,
below, I think, Hulk, which is funny because you think like that came out how long ago, and Marvel
2008.
wasn't even really
Now
a thing at the
yeah,
time.
15 years
So
ago. Yeah,
yeah, and coming off $1 billion of Marvel, Captain Marvel to go that low, it's kind of crazy.
yeah.
But just imagine, Charlie. I don't think we've seen any of these characters
No,
in.
didn't we see? Starhawk was
Correct.
Stallone
Yes.
in Guardians 2 and 3.
Correct.
But yeah, some of these characters, just like I said, the two in the background there with the big hair. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
even Yanu doesn't even look anything at all, like, with
right.
the
Yeah,
flowing
he's
cape, and he was kind of
yeah,
like a Native American type character, kind of
right.
they native. And Martin X isn't even in this either. Martin X is like
Oh,
that
the
crystal
guy,
guy.
the sparkly dude,
Yeah,
yeah, who was it was Lex Luthor in the movie. Blah, 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 blah. Who's the guy who played Lex Luthor in Smallville?
Michael
Rosenbaum.
Rosenbaum, yeah,
Yep. Yeah, he was the voice. And then, yeah, I love the end of Guardians was great with all those cameos. Michelle Yeoh was one of the Ravagers. Just good stuff. All right. Well,
good times.
enough down the Guardians rabbit hole. But Todd, I have a prediction. I think in the 31st century, you won't be here. I won't be here. Cockroaches won't be here. But I think our senior correspondent, news correspondent, Madam Webb, absolutely will be. Still talking about the latest scoops without a shot of you know what down at the corner of Hollywood and Vine, if it still exists, if California doesn't fall into the ocean. So let's go see what she's got for us this week.
Now it's time for Madam Webb's rumors and news. Take it away, boys.
Thank you, Madam Webb. Madam Webb, I know this is your time to shine. You're getting ready for the holiday season. You're figuring out how to unlock all of those red cauldrons to take the money out. You're getting a dog. You're putting on your green costume. You're getting ready to be the Grinch. So,
Wait a second. That's the Grinch. Oh, there you go.
well,
Awesome.
Charlie, it was basically inspired. The Grinch was inspired by her. Dr. Seuss and her went back, and she ripped him off. So
yeah, and then they had a torrid love affair. My God, most people don't know about that.
you like the green costume she wore.
It's the truth. Oh my God. Well, we kick off this week's news with some sad news. We lost a titan of the industry this week at age 101. So gosh, even a little younger than Madam Webb. But we're talking about Norman Lear, pioneer of television programs like All in the Family, which was 50 years ago, which is just staggering. So he was in his 50s when that show came out. So that was even potentially later in his career. Also gave us Good Times, which was just a biting commentary on life on that side of the line in the in the housing projects of Chicago. What the Jeffersons, of course, which is what spun off All in the Family. But yeah, for for you to look at him, he looks like anybody's grandpa. You know what I mean? Your grandpa or my grandpa. So it just kind of looked like a regular old kind of general issue white guy, but had such lasting thoughts and processes. Yeah, Maude, Mary Hartman. What else? What are some of his other big programs?
Jeffersons, I believe, because that was a spinoff of that.
Exactly.
Maude, I believe, was a spinoff. One Day at a Time, Sanford and Son.
There we go. Yeah, so he had like half of his work was about the urban Black community. In the 1970s, which is just you just wouldn't necessarily pin it like that. So, but again, that was all in the 70s. So yeah, as I continue to skim through, lots of work in the 70s. What did he do? What did he do after the 70s?
Was he involved in like Facts of Life or any of those type of shows?
I don't think so.
Did he even get involved with what was that, Archie Bunker's Place? Remember that horrible spinoff where he ran a bar?
Might be. Oh, okay. Look at this. In July 2021, on his 99th birthday, TBS announced it would be developing a reboot of Mary Hartman, Mary Hartman,
Oh wow.
an animated version of Good Times, a reboot. Oh, Who's the Boss? Okay, there we go. There's something.
You did Who's the Boss? Oh
I
wow.
had
Okay.
I had no idea. Yeah, I'm skimming through this.
Okay. I
But
got
again,
Yeah,
oh,
Looper
you got
has
some
a good
stuff.
link.
Yeah.
He did a show called
Okay.
The Dumplings in 1976 with with James Coco.
The Apple Dumpling Gang.
Sunday Dinner in 1991 with Robert Loggia.
Robert Loggia.
The Baxters in 79. The Nancy Walker Show in 76. Trying to think. The 704 Hauser in 1994 with James from Good Times was in it.
Oh, Amos, John Amos.
John Amos, yeah.
Yeah, we just watched Die Hard. Die Hard 2
Oh
as
my
one of our
God.
Christmas movies, and he was a villain in that.
Yeah.
Facts of Life and Different Strokes. He was involved in those as well.
He did something in 1997 called Channel Umpty 3.
Yeah, I get the feeling that
Powers That Be in
yeah.
1992 with David Crane, Marta Kaufman about a DC show with Frasier's brother,
Oh,
James
David Hyde Pierce.
Gordon-Levitt as well.
Yeah,
Interesting.
involved in the seminal This Is Spinal Tap in
Oh, was
1984.
he?
Yeah, so it's just
His last show was the remake or the reboot of One Day at a Time on Netflix in 2017.
I don't know that I tuned into
Well,
that.
remember the Fernwood Tonight? He did that too.
Right. My goodness. So anyway, and simply put it, 101 years old. That's just a triumph in living.
Yep.
Because I've never known anyone that old. So I think
That's still
pretty
active
spectacular.
and involved
Yeah.
and creating. John Williams is getting up there because he's still composing and he's in his
Right.
upper 80s, I believe.
Betty White was working right up to the end. She was like a week or two.
That's true.
She was a week or two from turning
She was
100.
a
in so
rapping
much
grandma.
that- Yeah, in so much that she had like the cover like the cover of People magazine about her 100th birthday. Oh my goodness. So anyway, RIP to a great talent.
Great
So
show. His stuff is
all
still
right.
watchable.
Stuff exactly, and you can't say that a lot of that stuff of the 70s that you read those clickbait articles that you're like 70 worst TV shows of the 70s, and it was all stuff people watched because that's all that there was. So hey, so talk to me about Godzilla. Now we're watching the Monarch Legacy of Monsters. You went to go see the new movie, but we got an article about King Godzilla X Kong, this new trailer. This thing was dynamite. Did we talk about this last week?
No, we didn't. So this is one
Okay.
that just dropped after we recorded.
There we go.
And so it's weird because I think it's called the Monster Universe. I don't know what it's completely called, but it is interesting because we've got so many parts to it now. Because we've got basically it all kicked off in 2014 with that standalone Godzilla movie with Bryan Cranston. We got Kong Skull Island. We got Godzilla King of Monsters.
Mhm.
Then Godzilla versus Kong, and now the Monarch is where we're
Right.
at with everything. And then we're getting this movie called Godzilla X Kong.
So
Japan also does its own stuff called the Toho universe, which
Right.
doesn't connect.
So Godzilla X Kong seems, and if you watch this trailer, seems to infer that the X means they team up, but
Correct.
in like in that movie from the early 2000s, was that X versus Sever?
Yeah, Sever versus X.
Sever versus X. Yeah.
Deep
So
cut.
what was the? Yeah. So yeah. Well, that was just, and it was called Going Ballistic, or it was Ballistics.
Yeah, it was Antonio Banderas and Lucy Liu. Was that who? It
Oh
was?
my God, this seems like a movie we should cover for a bad movie.
But yeah, well, and remember Batman X Superman, not versus, or was it V? Was that Batman V?
It was a V. It was a V.
Okay, VX.
Yeah. So
I.
And even in this series, it seemed to imply that because there was an earlier one on this, Godzilla v Kong v Godzilla, whatever it is. So X is potentially a multiplier, so that indicates
team.
maybe a team up of some kind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, because they're teaming up to take on a super. And I love in this trailer that Godzilla, or that Kong, is either wearing some kind of brace because he broke his arm, or it's a gauntlet, or maybe he has a big fake armor. Maybe he loses his arm and somebody has to hook him up with like a cybernetic giant. I couldn't quite figure it out, but it's only in the clips to the end, because if you look even on the screen cap as you're scrolling down to play the trailer on this link that we have, you see like crystals in the background. It's like, but they look like kryptonite crystals. So it's like, is that the thing that killed Superman or whatever. But there's also green behind them, and you have Godzilla. Has his spines get pink and shoot out, and then he and Kong are running together, and Kong's got this big. It's yellow. It looks like it could be like Bumblebee's arm or something.
Yeah.
There's just a hell of a lot going on in this trailer.
Yeah,
That leaves you with a lot of questions. Not the least of which is why is whose baby is that? Like George Santos. Is that your baby? Not yet.
Well, it's funny because there's a world within the world. So that like underground world they found where that's essentially where they have monsters and things of enormous size living within the core of the earth. And I believe Kong went there. We saw that Godzilla's been trapped because essentially they both of them at the end of the last movie teamed up, and Godzilla essentially was the winner. They beat Mechagodzilla, and so at this point we're opening up in the middle of the earth, and we see that there's a new threat, which is another giant Kong that is like reddish, but there's a bunch of them as well, and they find a little baby. And I don't know, Charlie, this may be the thing. I don't know if that little baby grows up fast and becomes that threat, because it's also red. So that could be like someone Kong raised.
Well, it could be. Or maybe, yeah, contextually, you don't know how much time has gone by, so maybe it didn't grow. Who knows how fast giant apes grow up? Maybe it's like, they're like, it's like dog years. I don't know. But yeah, we're getting this movie in early April. So this is even before, I know you and John and I were talking about this being like, oh, this is going to be a big part of the summer movie season. It's not, because our summer movie season starts the beginning of May,
1st
right?
or something like that.
Yeah, Memorial Day. No, not Memorial Day. Beginning of May. So this eclipses that, but April is. I'm not necessarily thinking of any other giant, huge movies that have come out, because you're in that weird spot where you could have a big hit in first quarter. I totally get that. But what happens in April, right? Like, they're not. It's not like a big movie going holiday or whatever. Yeah.
No. I was looking at. There was a podcast listening to, and they were talking about like May is kind of crazy because May 24th, which is Memorial Day weekend, there are like 3 huge films. There's like 3 big blockbusters, and then there's Garfield. So like, I think something will have to move out of there because it doesn't make any sense to have 3 big movies. So it makes sense to move something to April to offset it. But yeah, this is going to be a bit. I mean, it was funny because the last Godzilla versus Kong movie, it was like one of the big like post-COVID movies to actually do well.
Oh yeah.
So it kind of generated some things. But I don't know if you saw the joke about this trailer was the fact that the way they're running, it kind of looks like weird, because normally Kong, you get him running, but Godzilla normally doesn't run that way. So it felt like it was like
he's too unwieldy because he's got the little T-Rex legs, right? Because he doesn't have big. He's mostly
arms,
bulk as opposed to.
He's got a lot of booty in the back end. He's kind of smaller, like a T-Rex. Got little arms. Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that is nuts. So, all right, moving on. We have a show happening on Amazon Prime that is the only Spider-Man that normal people can cosplay, because it is not a skin-tight suit. Todd, I know you're not a cosplayer, but I know there are certain characters you admire. But trust me, there's nothing more humbling and potentially damaging to your self-esteem than putting on a skin-tight anything. So what's nice about Spider-Man Noir is he wears pants, he wears a sweater, he wears a vest, he's got poofy arms on his shirt, and he wears a mask, and he wears a cool hat. It's a great cosplay. Either sweater or sweater vest. Because I've got the outfit. It's in a bit in my garage. Take a look at. Let me see. I'm trying to see if I can. Here, hold on. I'm gonna help you out here.
I've played him in the video games. You have to.
There we go. Now, this version of the figure that I have did not come with a hat, but a subsequent version has. But here you go. If you look at and a big trench coat. But if you look at this, he and they just built this off the old Nick Fury figure. But big old belt, big old. His pants I thought were a little bit more crisscross. So this is a version. But if you look at his. See, he's wearing a turtleneck sweater.
Kind of reminds me of your cap jacket. Remember your cap jacket that has the flap?
Yeah, the one I tried to. The one that I tried to wear last week for about 10 minutes before I'm like, I'm dying. I mean, I already took off the jacket. It's either really cold down here or really hot. There's no medium down here in the studio. But anyway, yes, that's Spider-Man Noir. If you're watching on the video, this is the OG figure. He has weird
Spider-Man
guns
doesn't
too.
kill. I do.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, yeah, he's from
guns?
he's from the 1930s. He does not have web gun. He does have regular web shooters, but anyway, I always really admired the costume because it's a very normal human being friendly kind of outfit. So anyway, dude named Steve Lightfoot, whose work I'm not familiar with, but it mentions Apple's Shantaram, there you go. And Netflix The Punisher, all right, we know that one, is signed on for co-runner for Amazon's live-action Spider-Man Noir based on the comic. This is very exciting to me. There has never been, unless I'm having a brain fart, a live-action Spider-Man program. But again, yeah, Spider-Man Noir is from the Spider-Verse, actually preceded the Spider-Verse, but it was a Elseworlds-ish kind of tale where you have an Earth that during their 1930s, during their depression, there was a kid named Peter Parker, yada, 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 got bit by a spider thing, and then he became this hard-boiled detective. I'm dancing with the figure right now because I just can't help myself. Became a hard-boiled detective and crime fighter with spider powers, and he fought a version of Norman Osborn, Felicia Hardy, ran a speakeasy called the Black Cat or Pussycat or something like that. I haven't read those stories in years, but it was always of the Spider-Verse characters, he was always one of my favorites. So this is super cool. I love it. So in the animated Ultimate Spider-Man series, he was voiced by Milo Ventimiglia, and then we also saw him obviously in Into the Spider-Verse as well. He was Nick Cage did the voicing there. But this is fun. So I feel like I've heard about this before. This is not like brand new news, but now somebody is actually participating in helping get it made. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and Sony doesn't have a streaming service, so they can put their stuff anywhere. And I still don't understand the rules of, obviously it's live action is all Sony, but so is the Spider-Verse film, which is animated. So it must be anything in film. But then now this is a TV series. So I'm a little confused because some animated Spider-Man stuff is on Disney as well. So I don't.
Yes,
I don't
the older.
understand it.
The legacy stuff is certainly.
Well, and then we're getting what the show on Disney Plus that's coming out, which is what, freshman year?
Oh, freshman year, yeah.
So I don't understand it.
So Disney Plus just yanked the
Spectacular.
late 2000 Spectacular. Yeah, that got yanked, and I don't know that I ever ended up watching it. I feel bad. Was that the one that Neil Patrick Harris was Peter Parker?
No, that was the MTV series, it was a weird thing. But
yeah, I've definitely, that was very like late 90s ish because I remember watching a bit of that.
I think I bought you Spectacular the DVDs. Bless you.
No, yeah, thank you. No, you bought me. I do have it on digital because you did buy it for me. So it's
okay.
It's on my Vudu, so you can also go revisit it if you so choose.
So this is going to be written and executive produced by Oren Uziel, who did The Lost City, which was that movie with was it Sandy Bullock? Was in that movie?
Sandy Bullock and Channing Tatum.
Yeah.
Wasn't that them? Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe this is where Sony can do well with Spider-Man in a different, not being a movie, not being horrible, maybe doing a series could be work. I don't know. I'm just hoping, because Spider-Verse is the only thing that is good, and then it's like
the rest of the spunk
better. Yeah, I hope we get something good.
Yeah, I agree, because the only live action enduring success that Spider-Man has been under the yoke of Disney, obviously with the partnership, but it's been part of the MCU. It's been the Tom Holland film. So yeah, there's always a hope. Now we didn't that's the breadth of the news we have. We don't have anything about casting. We don't have anything about production. So based on that, you can expect to see it in 3 to 5 years, maybe 2 to 3 years. So, but yeah, I think that's pretty exciting. Okay. You'll appreciate this because you're a Wolverine guy, you're an X-Men guy. So Ryan Reynolds is leaning really hard into screwing with people on social media with the fake spoilers for Deadpool 3. So why don't you take this one? This is your wheelhouse.
Yeah, Ryan Reynolds has been trying to get people to avoid putting spoilers up for Deadpool 3 because they're doing a lot of physical shoots. When you do that, you have less privacy versus doing it like in a closed studio with green screens. Right. So because he's so mad about, he's trying to put a spin on the fakes and everything by posting his own fakes, which I like because some of the fakes he's put out there are hilarious. Like there's one where it's the Predator just hanging out. I believe there was one. It was Urkel in the background.
They could do it because
so...
he's Disney. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. TGIF is all
Yeah.
Disney.
Yeah.
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 So
Well,
it's
and the
really,
Predator as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're talking about, it looks like we could be seeing the return of X-23, so that's Daphne Keene from Logan. But then they're also talking about Logan's actual son, which was, is it Dakin or Dakin? I remember reading something about that.
Rocking with Dakin. Yeah. Horrible character.
Rocking with that, man. I use that. Yeah, I use that expression all the time. But yeah, the most important thing about Deadpool 3 is for fans of the MCU. That's all we got in 2024. They
right.
to be because of the meritorious writer strike, which again we strongly support, and I'm totally fine. But yeah, the last time we had a year that had no MCU content at all was 20. I think it was 2009. 2010, one of those. No, because no, Iron Man 2 came out in 2010. The first Iron Man and Ed Norton Hulk came out in 08, so in 09 they had nothing. So yes, there is a year in recent history where there was no MCU content, so I know everybody can just chill out. At least you know what, at least it's for a good reason. So yeah, so this should be a blast, and this will be in July. We'll get this movie, so that's fun.
Yeah. I did not know
exactly.
that they confirmed this. Did you know that I didn't know any of these casting? It says here in this article I've got, it says also been confirmed is Jennifer Gardner as Elektra, Wesley Snipes, James Marsden, Famke Janssen, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Daphne Keene, and even singer Taylor Swift among those rumored to appear. So are these all true?
It's gonna be Dazzler, right? It says it's confirmed and it's a decent source, but I mean, again, Deadpool is real famous for its, fast fire cameos. Remember in the second one how he was in the X Mansion and behind him was the open door and it had all the first class X-Men and then he just pulled the door shut. So, but that, that's a cameo. They were ostensibly they were all in the movie then. So I don't know, but at least it'll be fun. And it's a big tilt because this is a Fox property that is transitioning over to Disney Marvel now that's wholly owned, and it's the first one, and you just believe in your heart it's still going to be fun. And isn't that really what matters?
And then maybe that's what Marvel needs. Maybe they need like a resurgence of something that's not the formula they've been using. This is fully on Deadpool 3, R-rated.
Yeah, because the formula is death. Look what's happened in the last. My God, Endgame was 4 years ago. It was in 2019, almost 5. It'll be 5 by the time this rolls around. And what do they have to show for it? They peaks and valleys, but a lot of valleys. You know what I mean? So it just you can't don't make me bust out my pizza analogy because I don't need to say it because you already know it. But I'm right. Yeah, you keep feeding people the same thing. Eventually, it's going to be like, I'm good.
I can wait.
I can go watch Godzilla.
Or I can
skip go and watch. And again with the proliferation of this, it's the snake eating its own tail. With the proliferation of Disney Plus showing that same stuff, people are like, nah, do I want to spend $100 to take my family to the movies? Or, it seems like those windows just get even shorter. And then, day and day, like when we were in the middle of COVID and we got, Black Widow, that just, I don't know. I could go on, but I think you get it. So hopefully this is something that helps restore
balance,
a break to the program, balance to the force. Well, I'll jump on this one. And again, Todd, I know this is not your world because you're not a figure guy, but there was a fan stream by Hasbro this week. The only line that I really collect anymore at all is the G.I. Joe Classified. Obviously, I talk about it all the time, but they did their biggest pre-order drop yet. It's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 figures. It's like the old days have returned. Usually a wave of something in modern parlance is like 3 or 4 figures. So this is over twice as big, 1.3 times as big. But no, we got drops for it, and a lot of these were pretty much previously known because they've been, it's a digital render, it's name only. But going from left to right in this image, we have bookending these 9 figures, we have a 60th anniversary generic soldier guy, and then at the other end we have a 60th anniversary generic Navy SEAL guy. easy pass for me. But Todd, you'll appreciate this because you like the weird ones. You have Big Boa going far left. He's the
Yep.
Cobra physical and I would say phys education. He's the phys education teacher of
He's the
Cobra.
gym teacher of Cobra.
He's the teacher of Cobra. You have Airborne, who's from the class of 83, classic character. You have a redeco of Rakondo, who is from the class of 84.
Great
I have
mustache.
I have the Tiger Force version, so I'm not going to bother to replace with this. But you have two brand new sculpts of Duke and Scarlet in the retro line. And the retro line cracks me up because it's the latest example, and Tidy, you can appreciate this working in a world where you deal with a lot of retail environments. Walmart had the exclusive rights to a series of 8 figures that were redone in a retro style, and they completely bungled it. I mean, I picked up their Lady J yesterday for $5, and it's a $25 figure because they can't sell them. But I grabbed a couple for my toy store because I have toy show next weekend. These are beautiful, but they're no longer retail exclusives. They're being sold on the regular market, and they're fantastic. I'm really excited about these. Next we have Quick Kick, and again this borders on I collect from the 82 series to the 85 series. Quick Kick was an 85 series, but he is still very weird because he's a guy with no shirt and no shoes,
No service.
and some throwing stars and a big sword. Then you have the Techno Viper, who's kind of weird, but he's out of my range from the 87 series. So these are all pretty sweet, and they're all pretty easy to find. So Todd, you're not a figure collector. I get it. But if you were to pick one of these, I think I already know the answer. You have to choose one to buy. What's it going to be?
Oh, wow. So many choices. Well, I don't understand him, and doesn't mean I can't love him, and that is Big Boa. He is
Todd,
weird.
it's like you and me. Don't understand you, but I do love you.
But one call out, Charlie. Why does Scarlet have like 2 extra ponytails? I don't understand that.
It's weird because you're looking at the pictures at the bottom. Oh, there are no. Oh yeah, there you go. Okay, because that's a great question. I think potentially that if you put her like in the Dragonfly, which is a HasLab that's going to come out next summer, then it won't fit. Yeah. Even though what's funnier about the Dragonfly, which April and I actually bought 2 of them because we're going to hang on to one and sell it eventually. One of the unlocked characters, you'll appreciate this, is a Scarlet knockoff from like the South American market called Glenda. Which was not a character I was aware of at all. And when you read her bio on Joepedia, they were like, Glenda was blah blah on this mission. At the end of it, she got killed. I'm like, well, then why is she a figure? We never knew about her.
Charlie, never forget.
We're not. But yeah, Scarlet's a great example, and she comes with just a shit ton of accessories. She comes with a crossbow with 4 different arrows.
Shit. That's one conundrum, right?
She has a little side. You see the side pocket thingy? It goes in there, so it's like a holster for arrows that she wears on her waist. Which I think is I didn't know that was a thing.
Well, I mean, like you as a collector, they always come with a ton of shit. Where do you pull the shit?
That's a great question because I pulled a Cobra Commander off my shelf this morning because his tank is coming this week, and that is Cobra Commander with it. I have little snap lid bins. Snap lid bins. And I have like 5 or 6 of them, and one is heads, one is hands, one is weapon, maybe Star Trek weapons, one is maybe guns, one is like weird blast effects. And so when I go to like if I'm replacing the figure and I'm going to sell it, then April and I will sit and we'll dump it out on a tray and we'll try to find little accessories so that we sell it complete.
Do you like label them on over top of it to make sure you remember who's whose?
No, I showed you that website yesterday, the Frank Perkins, the Action Figure 411. It's all there. He's got pictures like these. So if I was to sell the Scarlet one day, boom, I pull up this picture. I know all the accessories she's got.
Frank's Nursery and Crafts.
Frank's Nursery and Crafts. So anyway, Big Boa is for you. Maybe I'll get you one for Christmas. We'll see what happens if you're a good boy.
Was he like Fridge Perry's like nemesis?
He was such a minor character, and he came out in that 1987 series where things were just getting like.
Oh no, he was the Rocky. He was probably.
He was, and it was Rocky. They were actually talking to Stallone about doing a figure, and the deal fell through. So I think they might have taken whatever mold is and turned into this dude
punching.
And he does. If you look at the figure, he comes with an alternate head where he's beat up, looks a little bit like Stallone. But yeah, he was from that 87 series where they also had a dude named Crystal Ball who was inspired by Stephen King. They had a guy named Raptor who was a Falcon trainer who had wings and that's when things were that's why I don't collect beyond
What
like
about
the 85, 86
Crockmaster?
years.
What's he up to?
Same year, 1987. And Crockmaster, they had already had to figure him. So yeah, I don't do the real weird ones because you just kind of need to draw a line somewhere. I like the stuff you saw in the cartoons. That's kind of my
Oh,
the
they weren't in
comic.
the cartoon?
No, none
Oh,
of those were.
okay.
Yeah, because it was the cartoon ended in 86 and then they brought it back
Too soon.
in like 1990, and then they had different characters, so they just got forgotten.
Too soon.
Tisk. Well, anyway, it's not too soon to wrap this up because the news is over. Time to get out that Fuber app, that feeble Uber app. The Geek Easy awaits for us to talk about things we're digging on, so let's do it.
Talk nerdy to me. Talk nerdy to me.
We're sitting the Geek Easy, cover bands playing, drinks are poured, and we are ready to get our nerd on. So this week, I actually went to the theater, and I saw a movie called Godzilla -1. Charlie and I were talking about all the Godzilla stuff happening in the US, but Toho continues to make Godzilla films. So if you think about it, they are the ones that always do the guy in the suit. So
Right. Godzilla -1 sounds like a album from One Direction, I got to tell you.
it's a little weird, but I understand where they're
Yeah.
going with it. I
Yeah.
figured out the title. So this movie is really trying to harken back to the beginning of Godzilla, because the first Godzilla movie came out in like 1954, and
Oh
it
my
was really
goodness.
a serious film talking about the horrors of nuclear war, basically
Right.
because of nuclear
Absolutely.
dropping, and it essentially caused turmoil in the environment and created this
Right.
monster.
And
Also,
and they kind of lean into that on the whole Monarch, the Legacy Monster
yeah.
show as well. Yeah.
And I think Raymond Burr was in that movie, so it was kind of a cool perspective. And this is why it's called Godzilla -1. This movie, because it takes place before that. This takes place in 1945 at
Oh,
the
Todd,
end.
it's a prequel,
I
and you allow
know,
it?
I
You
know.
actually allowed it? I'm shocked.
Exactly. This is
Shocked.
100% Japanese production, a $15 million budget. That's a good thing
15.
to
Oh.
note. This movie takes place, the main character is a kamikaze pilot who essentially, I don't want to give too much away, but it happens in 1945 at the end of the war. And this is essentially the first appearance of Godzilla that we see. And it really deals with the horrors of war, Japan rebuilding, all of the things that were left in rubble, and just this one character basically trying to reestablish his life, also PTSD, all of these things. And it's a really good character piece. There is some Godzilla, but not much. This is really about
Oh,
humans.
it's Godzilla implied. Oh, but Todd, that flips the script on the way you felt about the Transformers movies, because you're like, those movies would be better if it wasn't about the people. But this was different, huh?
Well, Godzilla is known for his funny quips and all the funny things he does, and his action figures that we can all enjoy.
He's
Yeah.
getting into crazy situations.
Yeah, so I think this is an appropriate approach to a monster movie where it's dealing with the overwhelming like destruction that Godzilla does, and the relationships that this main character makes, basically trying to reestablish his life and build a family. It's really well done. I
Oh
was
wow.
totally impressed. It's full subtitles, so
Yeah.
just imagine when you're at the movie theater, make sure you can see them well.
Right.
And
People
really cool.
People are really ranting and raving about this one. They're digging it. So
Yeah,
any posts I've seen by friends on social media or whatever, they're really enjoying it. So that's awesome.
yeah, and I can't believe, because I wasn't sure about the effects and why they only spent $50 million. It is amazing looking. It is truly,
Wow.
there's no guy in a suit in this, but it looks amazing. So I'm thinking, if they can do this level of just real like locations, but
Yeah.
also with CGI with Godzilla, it's amazing. And I liked
That's
some
awesome.
of the ingenuity that people did. Obviously, this is back in the 40s, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like, how do you manage a threat like that when you don't have
Right.
like certain things? So I really enjoyed this movie.
Right.
And I love some of the music, Charlie, too, because it harkens back to like the old Godzilla music, which is like dun dun dun. They use that. It was really cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Love this
cool.
movie. Thought it was great. Very happy for it. And apparently it's
Yeah.
the biggest foreign
Crossover.
Japanese foreign film in the United States ever.
Oh
So
wow.
yeah,
Oh
should have
wow.
found an audience.
Well, we might go take a stab at this one next weekend then, because if everybody's liking it, it's not like how bad could it possibly be? Plus, what do we have? Oh God, Todd, we haven't even made plans to talk about Aquaman yet, which is going to be my favorite bomb of the year right there. Well, you know what? I can't even say that because this was the year that we had the Flash. But I wanted the Flash to be successful.
Well,
Where Godzilla, I just don't. Or Aquaman, I just don't want to be successful. So I think I'm going to be very pleased.
Poor Aquaman. What did he do to you?
I don't know. It's just I'm just so in a lot of ways. I'm just
Since Avatar's not out this year, you need another.
I need a yes. I need something to turn my ire onto. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we are going to go see that though, because my wife has already said that we need things to do with in-laws visiting for 10 days. We will definitely be seeing that.
Oh my goodness. Maybe multiple times.
I hope there's a new cover of a Toto song.
Maybe you can save the box office. Oh my goodness. Well, I'll go kind of quickly here because I also saw a movie that is not genre related, but the star of it was an actor I respect very much. That's Paul Giamatti. And it's funny, for an indie film, we had been seeing trailers for this for months. It was like really well promoted. But it is called The Holdovers. It is set in a college prep school in the year 1970 in New England. So somewhere in Massachusetts, I'm guessing, because a portion of the film takes place in Boston. But it has to do with a very smart but withdrawn young man who his mother leaves him at the school over Christmas break because she wants to take a vacation with her new rich husband. So she talks him into staying. And apparently this always happens at this school. So there's a group of 5 kids that are left over. They're holdovers. And the only people there to watch them are the janitor, the nice lady who runs the kitchen, who is actually, and we rewatched Office Christmas Party last night, and she was the security officer. So in a much more satirical role, and that film was from a number of years ago. And then Paul Giamatti, who is a pretty much washed up, basically ancient history teacher who is cantankerous and nobody likes him. And again, I'm not going to spoil a lot of this because I really would recommend that people go out and see it. But it's kind of about this long emotional journey and figuring out why this kid is the way he is. I mean, I already tipped it off that his mom doesn't have him home for Christmas break so she can, run off and have a vacation with her new husband, who's played by Tate Donovan, who just in general often plays characters that you don't like. And he was very unlikable for the short part of this film that he's in. And the mom is played by the same it's actress Gillian Vigman, who plays who voices the cat doctor on Lower Decks, which I know you haven't watched the show, but she's just very rude and always screaming obscenities. Not nice. In this role, but in that. So it's a great film. Again, a little off the beaten path. It's an indie film. Theaters seem to have a decent amount of people in it, so hopefully it's doing okay. Yeah. But whether it is or it isn't, indie films like this, kind of like your Godzilla movie, if they made it for $15 million, almost any amount of money that they make is a success.
Absolutely. And I was going to say a fun fact, Charlie. So this is a Miramax film.
Right.
Disney used to own Miramax. Guess who owns Miramax now?
Jeff Bezos.
Paramount. So this movie may come to Paramount Plus.
Well, then I put it to you that you should check it out.
Yeah, I also saw. I was wondering. I'm like, well, yeah, I have seen trailers for this. It looks very cute. Looks very heartwarming. I assume maybe it's not.
Yes,
there's somebody's killed.
Well,
or
it's
something.
Just, nobody dies. Nobody there. Okay. There's your spoiler. Nobody dies.
Thank you.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, no, I highly recommend it. And then a little side bit. Peter Stein, who's one of my cohorts on Code 47, over on our Patreon, the Facts Geek Life, we've been talking about Battlestar Galactica, the Ron Moore version. We're in season 1. We're kind of taking the whole series and breaking it up into chunks and talking about it. But for some reason, I was thinking about how much I enjoyed the finale of that show. And Todd, of course, you've seen the show, but it'll be 15 years next year since that finale was on, 2009. The finale, which was a little micro movie, if you watch it on Peacock, though I owned it, but it's still split up into 3 parts, but it's just one story. Just always kind of, it's, there are people who bitch about the way this series ended. I absolutely loved it. And there's a lot of stuff in there that I got kind of choked up about. It's just extraordinarily emotional, the journeys that you see. And again, it's a show that was on for 4 seasons. There's a lot of depth and complexity to the relationships, obviously, that are resolved within this episode. But there's a lot of stuff I think would be accessible to just the layman who is maybe watching it for the first time. But a lot of the stuff like, between the father and the son and his best friend and the father and his intended, who is dying of cancer, and kind of how that goes. And the entire movie is about a husband and a wife rescuing their child from the evil Cylons, and how everyone falls in behind them. And it's just, man, it's one of those things like Endgame I could watch a million times because I love it so much. So again, it's not particularly new or noteworthy, but yeah, I kind of get really, really choked up. That's over on Peacock. I don't know if it's Peacock Plus, but there has been some, skimming through YouTube, there has been some talk that yet another reboot of Battlestar Galactica is finally starting to move forward with the strikes being over. So fingers crossed. I've always been a huge fan of the franchise. Our mutual friend Brian Cole, huge fan of the franchise.
Yeah, great show.
And yeah, it's just it was a show that, even though you always have your detractors and, well, why didn't this thing or that thing happen when it concluded? I thought it was. I don't know about you. I thought it was a great ending.
Oh, like Lost. I understand why it's controversial, but I thought it ended in a spot that I thought was unique and different, so I appreciated it.
And did not see it coming. I thought it was.
No.
If you haven't seen it, I'm certainly not. Spoilers. Who cares? 15 years. I'm not going to say it, but it was very surprising at the time how they choose to end it. But I really liked it.
Absolutely, and that was at a time when you really only got unique science fiction shows on like Sci-Fi.
Yeah,
who else was doing it at the time?
Yeah. Right. Yeah, there was no streaming, so there wasn't any of that stuff going on. So, So anyway, that was my, it was in a hotel room for a couple of nights. I'm like, you know what? For some reason, I'm thinking about this, so I'm just going to watch it. So,
good deal.
Anyway, all right. Well, that wraps up our time. My good, I'm see how verklempt I am thinking about Battlestar Galactica. But this wraps up our time in the Geek Easy. Time to skip out on the check again because I know they spit in my Tom Collins. But we've got to get down to Australia. Got to get out that Air Qantas app, Hologram Tina, and the Mutants Await to talk about a holiday horror film. Let's do it.
Hey, Secret Friends Unite, let me tell you about Zencastr. We use them for our show, and now they're supporting us. Zencastr is now the all-in-one solution making podcasting easy. It's the ultimate web-based podcasting solution. Provides high-quality audio and video podcast production and hosting. With a full suite of professional tools, podcasters can seamlessly record, produce, and publish studio-quality content, all from one dashboard. Being a creator has never been easier. And we chose Zencastr because of the ease of use, high quality output, and it makes it super easy for our guests to come on. We had multiple solutions we tried before, and Zencastr has just been the best fit for us. Why Zencastr? It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sounds and up to 4K video with your guests. Feel a sense of zen knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality, even if the connection is unstable. Have you ever worried what you sound like? Zencastr's post-production process makes you sound buttery smooth. It automatically removes those ums and ahs in your recording. It removes those awkward pauses in conversation too. Set the right podcast loudness and levels while reducing background noise with the click of a button. So if you're interested in making an easy, high-quality podcast just with the click of a browser button, go to zencastr.com/SFU and use our code SFU. You'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experience I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. Now back to the show.
Welcome to another edition of Thunderdome!
Thank you, Tina. The mutants have been gathered for a topic or a game to be entertained. And we're doing a little shift, inspired probably by a podcast now Charlie's a fan of, is just like I have. It's called We Enjoy. They are doing...
I thought you were going to struggle to remember what the name of it was.
No, they are doing... They're doing horror films around the holiday season. So they're doing some different...
I have not tuned in a couple weeks, but it's there. But sometimes I get to a point with all of my travels, I listen to podcasts for maybe 2 or 3 days, and then I just need some tunes, and then the week is over. So sometimes I miss theirs, but I do. And those guys, what were their names again?
Eric and Matt.
Eric and Matt, yes. And I know you should reach out to them again, see if they'd be
I
interested in
will
teaming
see
up.
if I can do that. But
All
they
right, you
did
should.
Anna and the Apocalypse, their first show of that season. We did that show last year, I believe, which we had a great time with. It's the musical. It's Scottish, and it's got zombies, high school.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. Really enjoyed that one. They're doing Black Christmas next week, which is one of the first slasher films from 1974.
Oh, gotcha.
Fun fact with that, the director of that also did A Christmas Story. Bob Clark is his name.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah. So
we did sample again Violent Night this year. We bought it because I just absolutely love that movie.
great movie. Yeah.
Yeah, great flick from last year.
Yeah.
Was that last year or the year before? I can't remember.
I think it was
But
last year
anyways.
as well. Yeah. Great time. But yeah, so I've been enjoying, and I did want to see Thanksgiving. Didn't get a chance to see it. Hopefully, I'll be able to watch that.
Right.
Days too. But I'm enjoying these themed horror films. So I thought, it's Christmas. We don't have a lot going on, so we'll do a couple of these for the end of the year. So the first one we're doing is called "It's a Wonderful Knife." This movie is currently streaming on AMC Plus or Shudder, depending on what you have. You can also buy it if you want. And this film takes the trope of, well, I'll give you the synopsis. After saving her own town from a psychotic killer, Winnie Carruthers' life is less than wonderful. When she wishes she'd never been born, she finds herself in a nightmare parallel universe where without her, things could be much, much worse. Director is Tyler McIntyre, and the cast includes Jane Widdop, Jess McCloud, Joel McHale, Catherine Isabel, William B. Davis, Justin Long, and some other people you've never heard of.
That it trailed off and it got cut off.
And that's appropriate.
Jimmy O.
Exactly.
Aiden H. played by Jimmy O.
Yeah. So the best way I could put this movie out there, Charlie, and I think you may agree, this feels like at the level of production of a Hallmark movie.
We did actually, and it was my mother who cajoled us and like, Jonathan Frakes is going to be starring in this Biltmore Christmas, which we watched.
Wonderful.
And it was kind of fun. Bob Picardo, who is was the doctor on Voyager. We've met him several times at cons and on the cruise and everything. It was in it very briefly, and like that was fun. But yeah, the Hallmark movie, we actually watched one. I'm not sure it really was a Hallmark movie, but it landed on either Netflix or Hulu, and it was like Jingle Bell Christmas or something. It was painfully Canadian, not to knock our friend Mark, our favorite Canadian, but it was filmed in Manitoba. Everybody had the terrible accents, and it was just so cut by numbers. And at the end, it literally ended at a school dance with the two people who had been fighting love the whole time finally having a dance. And this followed a formula of its own kind.
Yes, it did. Yeah. So this movie is essentially about a girl who we find out that there is a serial killer. He looks kind of like an angel, I guess. I don't know, white robes, white opaque mask. Kind of looks like Cobra Commander, I guess. Destro, maybe, I don't know. Yeah,
Storm Shadow. Yeah,
maybe. No details, no features, but a clear mask.
And there we go. I'm trying to point. There we go. Cobra Commander.
Yeah, it's just like it without the hat, but with a
there you go.
or a hood. And then he would kill people with candy canes. Is the premise. And at the very beginning, we find out though that people are getting killed by this person, and this is at the very beginning, so not really spoilers, to tell you the truth. You find out though that the person that's doing this is the mayor of the town, and the girl who ends up taking out the murder, our main character Winnie, basically fries him, and because of that, I guess her life goes to hell. Like she loses her best friend, and then her parents all of a sudden start acting weird. Is the best way to put it.
All because she stopped a killer from killing more people. And like you said, her best friend got killed. And so it was she should have been a hero, right? She stopped a killing spree. So that right away, that doesn't make any sense. And then they jump a year forward. So now it's the next holiday season. And my life has fallen apart and I didn't go away to school and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And all this cheating on her.
Yeah. So it's like, why is her life bad? Because I'm trying to remember the details. Did she end up killing him in self-defense? It was in self-defense because she's with her friend. Yeah, her friend got murdered. So she kills this guy in self-defense, and the town turns on her. Because the guy who is the mayor, who is also a serial killer, was just misunderstood somehow. I mean, again, the premise of her her life falling apart just doesn't really seem to make any sense.
Yeah, and like all of a sudden her family's like, "Oh, get over it." Oh, they buy the brother
Right.
a truck and they give her a tracksuit, and it just seems so weird. The brother of the mayor, who was a TikTok star or something like that, gets mad
Right.
and blames her for it.
Yeah, it threatens her to say, "I would just kill you if I could." I'm like,
It was a weird tone shift, and I'm like, "Okay, this is very odd." So then, Charlie, we get to the whole thing with, like, Jimmy Stewart saying, "Everything
"I
will be
wish I
so
was
much
never
better."
born." Yeah, right.
Exactly, and it's the power of Aurora Borealis, like we know, with that
They
famous Simpsons skit, Aurora Borealis.
I'd say, didn't they? Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so she ends up in this weird parallel world where the mayor dude is still around, but because she was never born, her parents are her parents in some like weird open marriage, and her aunt's this like drunk, and
Well, the
her
mom's a drunk now,
the
and
moms are yeah.
yeah, has a
The aunt is the one she's able to convince of what's going on, but the mom is a drunk and sleeping with
the
dudes
dad's
in front of the dad.
absent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's around, but he's just, he's probably drinking himself into a stupor. And her best friend, or the person who was her best friend, who obviously doesn't know her now, is, teetering on the brink of, wanting to kill herself. And it's just, it's definitely, it's the worst timeline, like old Community sketch.
Yeah. Well,
But
the
yeah,
one it was very weird because now the town is, like, in shambles, everybody's a drug addict. There are now been, like, 25 deaths by this killer because she never stopped the killer.
so it's like Hill Valley in Back to the Future 2,
Yes.
when Biff stole the almanac, and then everything is the darkest timeline.
Marty's
And the
mom got pimped out.
yeah, the clock tower is like the Trump Hotel,
Yes.
and yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Marty's mom got pimped
Well,
out.
and then they had the one girl. So the one girl, who they called her weirdo. So a social outcast. Nobody
Very
liked
nice.
her. But when I looked at her, I'm like, why is she weird? She's nice.
Right. Well, that's obviously weird in it's Bizarro world. Up is down, good is bad, bad bye.
Yeah, so she becomes like the ally of our main character. They were never friends. No one knows our main character, so she's trying to stop things from happening. And she finally comes to grasps and figures out the what caused this was basically wishing upon Aurora Borealis could change things, and so she has to figure out how to revert it. So she thinks if she kills the killer, that everything will work out and we'll get back to the life that she was horrible for her.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, we get to, obviously we're moving forward into the third act, and she figures out, like you said, that she can get back, but how and why, and then they throw in, so you have the two best friends, two girls that share a kiss at some point that I
At the
felt was like, why did they, that was not a
romantic,
part of
yeah.
the, there was no romantic subtext to any of that, and all of a sudden they have what is a very romantic kiss, and that essentially is, again, it just seems like it's not a part of the
Came out of
plot.
nowhere, yeah.
It came out of nowhere, and it's like, did they throw it in there for some kind of shock value, which just drives me nuts, because I throw in something romantic no matter who it is if it is relevant to the story, and it had no relevance to the story. They were friends, but Todd, we're not going to get into a situation where it's life or death and then we're going to be making out. Sorry, I don't think it's relevant to our friendship. I hope it doesn't break your heart.
Charlie, that's okay.
That's okay.
I can, we have college, our
Yes.
college memories.
The Ether Bunny.
It was an experiment. No. And it was because they did flip the script in a couple of ways, which once again, the tones of this movie, the jumps, the leaps of faith of what they went through. I mean, the fact that there was a switcheroo on who we thought was the killer. And then we get to the fact that there's this weird, like, supernatural cult that
really came out of nowhere. And I get to that bit, and again, you and I were just talking that neither of we both watched this, but we didn't really pay attention to it. You were watching on a computer. I was in my hotel room. I was working on something else and would glance up, but we got to this part, And also, also I had this TV that would overheat and turn itself off, so I had to get up and plug it back in.
What?
Yeah, I know.
Oh
I
my
wrote a
gosh.
nasty note. I wrote a nasty note to the people at the
Thank God
Hampton.
you didn't start a fire.
The Hampton and Troy, they got a very nasty note. But it happened during this scene. It happened a couple times. I stayed there for 2 nights, but it happened then, so I had to pause it and go back, plug it in, and boot it up again. And so I got back to the scene, and it just makes no sense. And maybe I missed something that was a component of the movie before we got there. So it just absolutely like, and now Justin Long, who is the mayor, is just holding summary executions in front of a clearing crowd. So it was very MAGA, to be perfectly honest with you.
And they had like eyes were changing color. Like it was very weird. And there was no explanation for it, what was causing this. And to your point, people were dying. And
Right. He killed like the sheriff guy who was like, well, I heard that you were going to leave the sheriff's department to go do something else, so you have to die. And he stabs him in the neck or something. He's like, what, why, what? I mean,
yes.
and Justin Long, who I mentioned, I'm like, I've always been very willy-nilly on the actor Justin Long. Sometimes I like him. So maybe it's because he was in that Kevin Smith movie Walrus.
Thank
And
God
I
I didn't
hated
see
that
that.
so much that I can't really shake loose that image of him being a walrus. But he was weird in this movie because he had the big hair helmet and
Weird
the fake
teeth.
teeth.
Yeah.
And it's just, he was kind of disturbing to look at. And then you throw in that scene again, you just had a lot of stuff in the third act of this film that it just felt like they were throwing darts at a board that say lesbian kiss or public square execution or something.
Misdirection of a bad guy, which
Exactly.
I get the misdirection. Maybe that's okay.
Sure.
But yeah, and this is not an expensive movie, obviously, but it doesn't change the fact that somebody wrote this.
Right.
Budget wasn't limited on number of keystrokes he could put in his computer.
I was going to say it's kind of a George Lucas situation where he wasn't writing by committee, didn't have a writer's room, didn't have anybody, editing for him. So yeah, I just, and again, we touched upon some other horror Christmas movies that we've enjoyed, like Violent Night, which came out last year. We absolutely adored it. And that was really, it was an engaging story.
Yeah.
It did employ a lot of violence. But at the end, there were a lot of really great things that you got to like about several of the characters, and the little mini arcs and things that you didn't expect, things that made you laugh, things that made you grimace, where this was just, there was nothing engaging about this. It was just kind of gross and all over the place.
Yeah, and the funny part was, like, if you think of like Back to the Future, you change the events of the past to impact the future. In this case, it was going forward, so it wasn't impacting anything. So when we finally do get back, everyone's changed, become better people. Her life is good.
Did she go back to like a whole year, or
No.
did she go back to where she left?
She went back to where she left because it was the
But
same Christmas.
but everything is fine.
Yeah,
Right.
like they all of a sudden said, "Oh yeah, we shouldn't have told you to get over it," and "Oh wait, here's a new camera that we didn't give you," and the other
then-
part, yeah,
Yeah, she runs off to see her friend
Yeah.
so they can spend a day together. I'm like, oh, they're going to have a kiss now, and that plot line from the previous thing is going to have some payoff, and it didn't. They just ended up running, walking in and hanging out and watching movies or something. It's like, oh,
well, I guess, but how did she remember? Like nobody else did, but she did. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah, you're right. There's no,
There's
it
no
was a bit-
rules. That's the problem with a lot of
Yeah.
movies. If you set the rules and you establish them and you say this will happen and this will happen, but
Right.
once again, this movie, I feel like they had a good idea and then they didn't have anything to follow
Right.
up with execution.
Right. Proof that that step one has to have a step two, and you don't jump to step three, which is
And-
cameras roll.
And no clever kills, really. There was nothing like, oh,
Yeah.
somebody
Somebody jammed a candy cane through somebody's mouth. That's not clever. But yeah, it wasn't like, they had like the electrocution scene, which went on for like 15 seconds. And I can't remember if that was the final kill, but it was just it was almost like it was like Mission Impossible 2 with Tom Cruise whipping the gun around on the bike. Take 7, take 8, take 9. It was just, they hung on him and like, here's him from the side. Here's him from the top at a 45-degree angle. Here's him from the front at a 15-degree angle. They just kept going around doing that same shot like it was the money shot of the film, but it was
Yeah.
like, I mean, you're right. They could have done something cool, like he burst into flames.
Well, Christmas lights are what electrocutes the person, or
Yeah, exactly.
impaled by a falling Christmas tree. There's so many
like
things you could do.
in Violent Night, they had clever kills, like all the Home Alone stuff, and the guy with the bowling balls and like I said, rewatch that movie because
Great
it was
movie,
great on a rewatch. So hey, you know what? I don't fault you for picking this. We definitely got to take a sample of what's out there, but so if you were to give this one a rating of 1 to 10 strings of Christmas lights, where do you land? No pun
I'm
intended.
giving this 3 ghosts of Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart's rolling around in his grave. I will give this 2.5 broken candy canes. So that's 2.5 broken candy canes. You had to break one. They're all broken.
Fruitcake, maybe we should have gone with that.
They're all broken in different segments that add up to 2.5. Yeah. This was not, it wasn't fun. Where it wasn't fun or interesting. Where Violent, like I said, I keep rolling it back to Violent Night because that's what we watched this time last year. I thought was fun and interesting in its own ways. Where this had none of those.
Well, hopefully the next one will be better.
Right, exactly. So, are we keeping this going? Are we going to do another one next week?
I think so. Yeah, I gotta look really quick, but I think I have a list, Charlie, that I made about like holiday stuff. So, I'll see which one you want to do, and that's obviously readily available. We can hammer up pretty quick.
Yeah, I'll give it a stab. Well, with that, it's a little bit of a shorter program this week, but that is the end of the road. So, Todd, where do people find you out there?
They can follow me on Threads and Twitter at @TOxtra and at Secret Friends Unite on Threads as well.
And Discord, which is where I'm very active. I'm also getting more active on Threads. You can find me there and on Instagram, C3 Carpenter. Just go ahead and spell it out. And again, our SFU Discord, we're very proud of that network and how we're continuing to grow it. But as always, my wife April and I do run the USS Grand Petoskey. That is one of the biggest chapters of the International Star Trek Fan Club in the world. We are based here in West Michigan, but we've helped grow chapters all over Michigan and Eastern Canada, of which I'm actually responsible as regional coordinator for that fine group of people. If you live in one of those areas or wherever you live, if you'd like to learn more about SFI, please give us good googs or just go to sfi.org or the Grand Petoskey website. Reach out to us and I'd be happy to help you out. So, well, cool. Friends, as always, thank you for joining us. I'm going to tell you that sharing is caring and to keep on trucking.
Be the hero, not the villain.
In a truck.
Ho, ho, oh no.
This podcast is part of the Secret Friends Unite podcasting network. Visit secretfriendsunite.com for more great shows, articles, news, reviews, and more. Secret Friends Unite podcasts are available on Apple, Google, Spotify, and other podcast services around the world. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, you can join us on Facebook or our new Discord server, or follow @SecretFriendsU on Twitter. Please subscribe to Secret Friends Unite on YouTube and visit our merch store at tpublic.com. Just search Secret Friends Unite. Thanks for listening.